happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a reaction of more country gems, top 10, so to speak, brought to us by a friend, longtime supporter, and patron of the channel, AnCat Dub. Thank you, AnCat Dub. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who make this thing go. If you'd like to support us in any way, check out that Patreon link below or the patron link on the end screen. We could not do it without the patrons. If you'd like to do a one-time donation, check out the Buy Me a Coffee page, also linked down below. All right. AnCat Dub says, I previously had Sean listened to a triple song battle featuring country rock tunes. Growing up, I never actually had much liking for country music or country rock. Neither did I, but I came to appreciate quite a few recordings as the years went on. So did I. Everything changes. Here's a few of my favorites. Note this playlist is ordered by the original recording date. So it's original recording dates, not, best to worst or any of that stuff. So if you haven't been on this before, the music won't be in the video, but it will be at a Vimeo link below. So click on that, follow along with this. Let's jump into it with the first song. And you see it down below. We got The Girl with No Name, recorded December 5th, 1966. The Byrds, this is all AnCat Dub's research, by the way. I'm the research guy, but AnCat Dub does such a fantastic job. I don't need to add anything to it. The Byrds are the American band often given credit for establishing the folk rock subgenre. They can also make some claim for helping to create the country rock subgenre at about the same time. Singer-songwriter Gene Clark had a lot to do with that, but Clark had left the group just as their third album was going into production. So Roger McGuinn and David Crosby stepped up to provide some original material for the very psychedelic third album, Fifth Dimension. Their fourth album, however, titled Younger Than Yesterday, veered off into country music territory, featured 4 songs by bassist and fledgling songwriter and singer Chris Hillman. He also co-wrote the single So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star with Roger McGuinn. In my opinion, Younger Than Yesterday was the Byrds' most consistent and inspired album in that, aside from the one obligatory Bob Dylan cover, the members of the Byrds were all involved in composing the remaining songs on the original album. And subsequent CD releases include excellent bonus tracks that were also composed by McGuinn, Crosby, and Hillman. The Girl with No Name is distinctly country rock in its stylings, and so Younger Than Yesterday album listeners were treated a remarkably organic mix of folk, country, and psychedelia, sometimes in the same song, and it actually all worked. In less talented hands, I suppose it would have sounded like a crazy mismatch, but the Younger Than Yesterday sonics well represented what Graham Parsons liked to refer to as cosmic American music. Hillman would go on to co-found the Flying Burritos band with Parsons in 1969. All right, I'm going to the lyrics up as always. Thanks again, AnCat Dub. I talk about this sometimes on this channel. This song is 1 minute 50 seconds. And what they're able to accomplish in 1 minute 50 seconds compared to some songs I hear that are 7-8 minutes long that do basically just monotonous nothing. Like this song, they do so much. Like, this is fantastic. Super enjoyed it. The soundscape is nice. The melody, the country rock is totally evident on here, but they did a great job with this. Remember, these are in sequential order, not order of quality, because I can't imagine there's going to be a lot on here that's going to be better than that. And I had never heard that song. I only know one of these songs on this whole thing, I think. Let's go to the next selection. We got the Stone Poneys, different drum, recorded in 1967. They're a folk rock trio consisting of 2 harmonizing male vocalists and guitarists, Bobby Kimmel and Kenny Edwards, and the young female singer, you might have heard of her, Linda Ronstadt. Different Drum was the recording that would introduce the singer Linda Ronstadt to the pop music world, being a top 40 hit in 1967, the year that psychedelia conquered the world. Different Drum was written by Mike Nesmith of TV's The Monkees fame, but the song was actually written prior to his being hired as a TV actor. Ronstadt had envisioned a different arrangement for the single than the record company insisted on creating. Different Drum features harpsichord and strings due to the then current popularity of Baroque rock, thanks to the Beatles' experimentations. And so I guess that helps the track to fit in better with the psychedelic rock craze of 1967 and beyond. Unfortunately for Kimmel and Edwards, Capitol Records never showed much support for anyone other than Linda. And by the time the single was recorded, Capitol was essentially pushing the 2 men out of their own group to promote Linda as a solo act. She was the only member of the Stone Poneys appearing on the single and a number of the tracks from their third and final album. The unexpected fallout of all this was that Linda would then assume all financial liability for production costs of the Stone Pony album, since she was the only remaining member of the band listed on the original contract. According to her autobiography, it would take Ronstadt 8 years to pay off these costs and begin to earn money for her own recordings. Let that sink in for me. And there's so many stories. That's insane. I actually did not know that one for Linda. It took her 8 years before she started making money. If you enjoy this track, I also recommend what was the single B-side title, I've Got to Know, also sung by Linda. I want to put a plug in for Linda Ronstadt's fascinating autobiography, Simple Dreams. It's both informative and entertaining, and among the many recollections would be her night spent jamming with her friend and backing musician Bernie Whedon and Graham Parsons, both Ben of the Flying Burrito Brothers and Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, at a house in the Hollywood Hills where Mick Jagger and Richards were staying on the Let It Bleed while working on the Let It Bleed album, which may be their best. I don't know. It's a hot topic. The Americans taught Merle Haggard songs to Richards, who, with Parsons' encouragement, was learning all about American country music. That night, Richards introduced the song Wild Horses, which is fantastic, for the first time, and somehow Graham Parsons charmed Richards into agreeing to let the Burrito Brothers record the song first, which is also crazy. That's a great story. Ronstadt knew that she wouldn't be allowed the same privilege, so she didn't bother to ask to do the same. Okay, I actually have heard that song one time. It sounded familiar. I had to go back and look. One of our OG patrons, D, did a song battle with this versus Michael Nesmith's song way back in 2022. This song's great. Linda sounds fantastic. You can tell she's going to be a star. But it's really, really well put together. It's an earworm, man. And I thought The Girl with No Name was as well. So a great start with these first two songs. Now we're going to go to someone that's already been referenced a few times. We got Flying Burrito Brothers, Hot Burrito #1, recorded in 1968. Despite the throwaway title, this is likely Graham Parsons' most admired song. It was written with bassist Chris Etheridge. It's been recorded by many other artists over the years, including Elvis Costello and the Attractions, Cowboy Junkies, Allison McCollum, the Mavericks, Gene Parsons of the Byrds, actually not a relation to Graham, and Jose Feliciano. All right. Chris Hillman of the Flying Burrito Brothers said Graham wrote this about his breakup with Nancy, his girlfriend, who he was never married to, but Nancy, they had a kid together, and Nancy eventually took his last name, even though they were never married. But Graham was lamenting that, he just got across that melancholy throughout the whole song. The guitar on there was fantastic to build the mood, and it has been on the first three songs, kind of part of this sort of genre. And when it works well, it really works well. And that was fantastic, man. My heart bleeds for Graham through that song. That was really good. All right, next up we got Fairport Convention, Tried So Hard, recorded live 1968 on BBC Radio. So I'm going to play a link of it from YouTube. So it's actually, as you see, the Spotify bar's gone. It's the only song we have on here that's like that. ANCAT Dub says Fairport Convention are a seminal British folk rock band, but in the first couple of years of their existence, they were not entirely what kind of band they wanted to be, and they seem to have spent most of their time listening to and playing American folk and country music. In 1968 and 1969, Fairport performed on BBC Radio in England, and a recording of those performances was released as the Heyday album years later. The main singers at this time were Ian Matthews and Sandy Denny, with Richard Thompson on lead guitar. The band sounded terrific on many of these live numbers, the only issue perhaps being that the songs were all covers. Very good covers, yes, but that never carries the same weight as well-written original material. I happen to agree with that wholeheartedly, which is probably why the recordings weren't released at the time. When Fairport toured California, they were looked after by the small but close-knit country and folk rock community based in Los Angeles. In an interview, Richard Thompson stated he was later asked to join Linda Ronstadt's backing band, who would go on to become, of course, the Eagles. But he said later this offer, I would have hated it. I'd have hated being on the road with 4 or 5 miserable Americans. They always seemed miserable. Yes. And if you see them now, they still look miserable on stage, like they don't want to be there and they don't like each other. Thompson's known for his wry sense of humor, so you can take these remarks with a grain of salt. Maybe not. Richard, fantastic musician, even into his later years. His album that came out last year ended up on my honorable mention on the top albums of the year. The song Tried So Hard was written by Gene Clark, formerly the Byrds, and released on his debut solo album, Gene Clark with the Gosden Brothers. Fairport had a knack for finding lesser-known but quality American material and introducing the British audience to these sounds. They were able to record Joni Mitchell's Eastern Rain before anyone else knew it existed, since Mitchell herself had never released a version of the song. Try So Hard was recorded by Clark as a country rock song, and Fairport stuck with the same approach, but gave their performance some energy and finesse not found in the original version. The combination of Ian Matthews and Sandy Denny singing in close harmony is irresistible to me, ANCAT Dub says. I also saw the Flying Burrito Brothers did a version of this song. All right, let's check it out. All right, Tried So Hard, Fairport Convention. Fantastic, man. Once again, the guitar work is seminal on there. And Ian Matthews sounds great. I mean, the song is a lot like the previous song from the Flying Burrito Brothers in the fact that, he's lamenting. I know Gene Clark wrote it, but, Ian is talking about the fact that this girl left him. It's not the first time his heart's been broken. He's kind of telling himself, he's trying to convince himself, don't get down. so far. I can't let this one get me down. I'll love again, but he's trying to convince himself that. So you kind of feel that melancholy and that pain in his performance. Next up, we got the Association, Look at Me, Look at You, recorded in 1969. ANCAT Dub says a poignant, powerful coming-of-age song, Look at Me, Look at You, was a fairly unique item in the Association's music repertoire, given its country music stylings and obvious Vietnam War-era references. It appeared as the lead track on the band's fifth album, simply titled Association, in 1969. It was written and sung by band member Terry Kirkman. Look at Me, Look at You. Nice call and response there. Really good lyrics. I mean, these songs have more developed lyrics than a lot of stuff in that time, right? Because it wasn't always the most important thing. And it's not always the most important thing, but I do enjoy it. But he has a line in here. I mean, he's talking about his life and kind of like, is he going to get through it? Because he kind of thinks he might have went the wrong way. So the first verse is talking about fighting in the war, I do believe. The second verse is when he loses his virginity with this girl and he's not even sure that he loved her. So he's just talking about all these things. But the verse I really like, and while I lie awake and sometimes I find I'm lost, as I rummage through my whats and ifs, my profits and my costs. You know, when you're laying there at night, you can get away and distract yourself from your thoughts any other time, but then you can't. It's not the bridges burned that bother me, but the ones that I never crossed. That is a fantastic line. That is a fantastic line. Great choice. We're halfway through the list. We get up to a man that has popped up off and on in this list in several places. Gene Clark, Winter In, recorded in 1971, the year of my birth. Winter In was one of the various compositions recorded at the time of Gene Clark's second solo album titled White Light, released in 1971. The song only appears on CD reissues of the White Light album as a bonus track. Clark had recorded 2 albums prior to this with Doug Dillard under the moniker Dillard and Clark. His first solo album, Gene Clark with the Gostin Brothers, had appeared 5 years earlier. None of the albums sold well at the time, but Clark has always been considered something of a cult legend. I personally find the song's hypnotic groove to be really pleasing and Clark's lyrics well-crafted, as always. I also agree it's the hypnotic groove that makes this song. The lyrics are fine. I mean, it does a very good job of painting the picture of one night and kind of things that happen and takes you into that moment, but the groove of it is throughout. And it's definitely, hypnotic is a good way of putting it. You definitely get into it. It's a good choice. We'll go back to the Flying Burrito Brothers for our next selection with Colorado, recorded again in 1971. ANCAT Dub says the beautiful Colorado song from the FBB's self-titled third album was composed and sung by Rick Roberts, who was recruited in the FBB to replace co-founder Graham Parsons, newly fired by his partner Chris Hillman. Parsons had earlier been fired from the Byrds for his lackadaisical attitude, and Hillman decided to give the charismatic Parsons a second chance. But much the same thing happened. Graham wanted to hang out in London and Los Angeles with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards when he was supposed to be touring, so he got the heave-ho from his partner. Note the guitarist Bernie Leadon left the FBB about the same time to form the Eagles. All right, Colorado, the Flying Burrito Brothers. I like that song. It's probably my least favorite so far, but I mean, this whole list is so good. But I mean, it's still well done. Melancholy song. When to come back home to Colorado. Colorado is the subject of it. It could be anywhere that you're from, right? And you're wanting to get out of where you're from to go see the world. And then as you get older, sometimes some of us realize, you know what? That actually wasn't so bad where I was. So he could have loved a woman, but he needed to go. He wanted to come back home to Colorado and see if she would accept him, so to speak. So well done. Very melancholy. 3 songs left. We got Pure Prairie League, Amy, recorded once again in 1971. The Pure Prairie League was one of the many bands inspired by the Byrds mix of country folk and psychedelia. Originally formed in Waverly, Ohio, the band's name was taken from a fictional temperance union appearing in the Errol Flynn 1939 western Dodge City. Amy was their highest charting single, peaking at number 27 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and 20 on the Adult Contemporary chart. The Pure Prairie League managed 5 consecutive top 40 albums in the 1970s. That's no small feat, boys and girls, because the album charts in the 70s was incredibly difficult. This song, Amy, first appeared on the album Bustin' Out in 1972, but wasn't released as a single until 1975. The recording features a particularly lovely outro that really makes the track, in my opinion, ANCAT Dub says. All right, Amy, I knew this song when the chorus hit. I saw that Vince Gill was their lead singer or joined the band in the early 80s, and they re-released this song with him or recorded it with him singing it. But I knew that the Amy part on the harmonies when it busted in on the chorus, that was about it. Nice acoustic on there. The guy that wrote this song, Craig Fuller, wrote it for someone real, and Amy. So you could feel it. Like you read the lyrics, it sounds like Craig might have messed up some things and then realized it later on, but kind of pushed her away. But He's kind of telling himself, I think you might want to come back after you've gone out and done other things, but well done. All right, next up we have B.W. Stevenson, who I've never heard of, with My Maria, recorded in 1973. This is a recording, and then in all caps, ANCAT Dub says, I love, as much for the great vocal performance as for the rocking guitar groove. My Maria was mainly composed by Daniel Moore, but he couldn't finish off the song, and so the music producer at ABC Dunhill Records asked country singer-songwriter B.W. Stevenson to finish the remainder and to record it as a single. The song became a top 10 hit in 1973, peaking at number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. Guitars on the track happen to be credited to legendary session musician Larry Carlton, who's best known for his work on Steely Dan and Joni Mitchell albums. It's pretty much a perfect arrangement to me, short and sweet. The song just does what it needs to do. Maybe I'll know this song. I mean, obviously, I told you I was born in 1971, but sometimes songs that were hits, you hear them later on in your childhood and remember them. All right, My Maria, literally the second the music hit, I was like, oh yeah, My Maria, Brooks and Dunn, the country duo. And I dabbled with some country myself in the 90s once. I could not handle grunge very much. It was just everywhere. That's a whole nother video and a whole nother story. So I actually turned to country, something I would have never thought I would have done in my 20s for a little bit. And this was actually the number one country song in the U.S. in 1996. Like for the entire year, won them a Grammy, and it was their last performance they did. But when they hung it up before they came back, as everyone does, they performed this song. So it was very big in the Brooks and Dunn. That's how much they liked it. You have to be able to flat out sing this song. I had never heard this version, but Brooks and Dunn pretty much did it just like this. But you've got to really be able to bring it. The guitar work is fantastic. This is a great song. ANCAT Dub nailed everything about it. I can't really add to it. This is all the way around a perfect song. And it's 2.5 minutes long, and you feel like you got everything you needed to, and you want to hit repeat. All right, our last song on this Country Rock Gems top 10, so to speak, is the only song in here I thought I knew coming into it. Dobie Gray, Drift Away, recorded in 1973. It's written by country songwriter Mentor Williams in 1970 and was recorded first by British singer and actor Mike Berry for his 1972 album, also titled Drift Away. When the song was later given to soul singer Dobie Gray, it became a surprise international hit in 1973 when Gray's version went all the way to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 singles chart. The mix of Gray's rich, smooth tenor with the track's twangy country instrumentation is an irresistible blend of music styles. I kind of forgot this song. This song is so good. Like, it's so good. I can't wait to hear it again. All right, Dobie Gray, Drift Away, a fantastic way to end off this top 10. I love this song. When I saw this on the list, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's country rock. Because in my head, it was more soul inspired just because of Dobie's voice. And then when I go back and listen to it, I'm like, yeah, it's absolutely country rock. There's nothing much soul too much about it, just the quality of his voice. But Dobie went on to do some Christian music in the 80s and actually have a couple minor country hits in the late 80s. So just fantastic, everything about it. But his voice is just so awesome. When he gets into that chorus, man, you just want to sing with him. And I was silently, even though the music's or the microphone's mic'd, I would not let my voice out to anyone. I don't want to harm anyone in the vicinity. So great choice. Now, got to get to my favorites, which I always say this is very difficult on lists like this. I mean, ANCAT Dub knows a ton about music, curated a fantastic list. Every song is going to be top notch, but we'll go with Drift Away. We'll go with My Maria. Man, it's tough. We'll go with Flying Burrito Brothers, Hot Burrito #1. Stone Poneys, Different Drum, and then The Girl with No Name by the Byrds. So I know that's a lot of them, but I mean, this is a lot of great stuff. So let me know what you think of this down below. Tell me what your favorites were from this list. What other country rock faves you have as well. Thank you again to ANCAT Dub for bringing this one. Until next time, guys, I will see you.